Good morning and welcome to the Thursday Thought. Over these last few weeks, I've been very impressed with the quotes that Mr. Brown has been using from The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. And he's given me permission just to share one additional one from that. So let me share it to you. Here it is. There you go. And it reads, "I've realised why we are here," whispered the boy. "For cake?" asked the mole. "To love," said the boy. "And be loved," said the horse. There's a little prefix to words from the Greek called pan. We use it in all sorts of different words. It means across, or all, or of everything. So we talk about a pandemic, which is different from an epidemic. An epidemic is a very localized infection, but a pandemic is an infection all around the world. Now, Shiplake College has always been a pan-global sort of school. We are an international community. Students from many parts of the world come here to learn, and old Vikings are working in many parts of the world. We have also concerns around the world. We are an all across pan sort of school in our giving and our kindness. And most recently, our concerns around the world have been focused on schools in Kenya, in Africa. Now, you're aware that Mr. Bowden has started a park run. Actually, a park run, a park walk, a park swim, a park ski, a park cycle, a park crawl, any sort of activity in order to cover the distance from Shiplake College to Kikunduku Primary School in Kenya. Now, with the efforts of lots and lots of different people, both old Vikings and members of our present community, we've crossed 2,359.27 kilometres so far, which has got us just into Africa. And we're going to carry on with this activity, these kilometres, until the end of half term. But why? Why Kikunduku? Well, those of you who've been around in the school for a few years now will know a little bit more about this. We've been supporting the Kikunduku Primary School in Kenya since 1996. And this has involved three elements. Firstly, fundraising for the school through all sorts of different activities like sponsored walks and all sorts of things like that. So that's the first thing, providing money for the schools. Two, the second thing, each house has sponsored a child. And that has meant raising money as a house to cover the annual fee for education, which is about £480 in the secondary school. And in return, we have received updates about those particular children, letters from them, school reports and their grades and everything else, just to see how they're getting along. The third element of our support since 1996 has been through gap year visits. So groups of children from Shiplake College have gone in about 6 weeks out to Kenya to build dormitories and classrooms, to install fresh water pumps, to build water tanks, all that sort of thing. So 3 levels of work. But of course, the third one at the moment is not something that we can take advantage of because of the restrictions on travel from the COVID situation. So let me just show you a few photographs of life in that school. Here we've got some of the children gathering, which is a lovely shot of them all at the school, the primary school. Here we've got a picture of them sharing a textbook and all joining in with their studies. There's no problem in getting them to school. They're absolutely desperate to go. There is no truancy whatsoever. and they're just keen to learn and improve and to develop themselves so that they can improve their situation for themselves and for their families. Here's perhaps my favourite photograph. Here's one in one of the secondary schools that the charity supports. Here you've got some boys in a very simple classroom, but they're doing much the same things that you do. And why do I love this photograph so much? Well, it just speaks to me of a common aspiration. These young people have the same feelings, the same aspirations, the same ambition that you have. They have the same ups and downs that you have. They cover the same sorts of subjects that you do. They're just like you, but they just need opportunity. They just need a bit of support. Now, over the years, we've helped to build parts of the school. And here you've got a classroom that is being built, just the foundations really, and some rough walls. And it then transforms into this, which is not quite finished. It is now, but here's a photograph of when it was being worked on. Great progress, really. Also, here's a water pump that draws water out of a deep well, which provides fresh water for that school community. Here are some benches that were created on a gap year project. If you could focus in more closely, you'd see that each one of these desks, bench desks, has the name Shiplake College on it. So, and here's a former pupil who has been involved in the creation of these things for the school. And here's a water tank with Shiplake written on it, something that we have provided so they can store the water that they need. Incredible thing. So what is the situation now? We do everything through a charity called Gap Africa. Now, we've heard that COVID in Kenya has been really devastating, and it's affected local people, of course, but it's also affected the supply of the goods that they need to survive. And in the areas that we've been active in, there are very worrying levels of starvation. Now, this is not something that we or Gap Africa have had to deal with in the past, before now, to raise money to actually feed children. But that's part of what we need to start doing. Just before the pandemic hit, just over a year ago, the charity was able to drill 3 boreholes for fresh water. So that element is covered, really. That's a very good thing. And as the pandemic hit that part of Kenya, they have tried as far as possible to observe the COVID protocols, like washing hands. But unlike us, they make their own liquid soap. The point is that the children are desperate to attend school. They just need the means to do it, the means to stay safe, and the means to continue to be fed and to be looked after. Now, that's enough of the detail. I want to get a bit specific now. And I want to introduce you to a former pupil. Her name is Wanza Mweu. Wanza Mweu. Now, I don't have a photograph of when she entered the primary school, but this picture will give you some idea of what she looked like, or what she looked like then. This is what she looks like now. Wanza. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She came from a single parent family. Her father died when she was very young. She has 3 siblings and lives in very poor circumstances indeed. And her earlier life was marked by a great deal of hunger and suffering. But because of projects like ours in Kukunduku and Gap Africa, she was able to attend the Kikunduku Primary School. Now, Gap Africa supported her in her education with educational materials and pens and books, and she worked very hard indeed. She did very well. She achieved high marks in her primary certificate. Now, the situation in her country is that because of the charity, the primary education was free, and she was able to respond and do really, really well. But as she was thinking about transferring to secondary education, there was a problem, because secondary education in that part of the world costs about £420 a year. And it looked as though her dreams were going to be shattered. But Wanza was able to be sponsored by children in schools like ours for her 4 years of secondary school. She worked so hard, she gained a free place at university. She gained a degree, a good degree in agriculture, and now works for the government helping farmers. Not only that, but because of the opportunity of education that she had, she now pays the school fees for her siblings' education. The whole thing has come round, one benefit to another. Education really is the key to life and opportunity. And Gap Africa works in schools like Kikunduku and is now helping 7,500 children just like Wanza. So what can we do? Because of the pandemic, we couldn't hold our usual autumn sponsored walk. And that sponsored walk would have produced quite a lot of the money that we would have used to aid the Kikunduku primary school and the other schools that our sponsored children attend. But we do have Mr. Bowden's Park Run. Now you may be running, walking, cycling, rowing, skiing, swimming. We would like everyone to do something before the end of this next half-term break, just a few weeks. Even I am getting out on my bike, and I know it's hard to believe, but I'm on my bike and I'm racking up the kilometres. So what would we like you to do? We would like you to sponsor, or your family to sponsor you to do that activity through a sort of Just Giving page. And even if you don't do anything physically, but we hope you will do, you can still sponsor the activity of others. You can still give. Now, each of the 8 houses at Shiplake are going to sponsor a child, and in return they will get letters and updates from that child. In this sponsorship of this park run, we would like to cover that sponsorship for every house by doing this event. But we'd also like to do more than to cover just the costs of educational fees in these difficult COVID times. We'd like to help Gap Africa to supply some food, and we'd like to continue to aid the creation of school buildings and fresh water in these schools. You or your families can sponsor as much as you want to, as much or as little as you like. Why are we here? To love, said the boy. We can do, through this activity, this event, we can do something wonderful for the children in those schools through this project. There'll be more details to follow, giving you all the details of this project and giving you the ways to offer a donation online. Thanks ever so much for listening. Have a great day.